Oh boy, oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Here we go. Whoever's watching this, you owe me for this one, my friends. You owe me big time for this one, amigos. But I was reading a couple articles about this Hillbilly Elegy movie. Hillbilly Elegy, as I call it, movie. And I was like, there's no way it can be as bad as they're describing. And of course, my first red flag was like, well, it's Ron Howard. It's a Ron Howard movie. I'm not the target demographic for Ron Howard stuff. And a lot of people are like, I've had this argument with people about, like, is Ron Howard a good director? Look, it's just not for me. But also they always say, well, what about Apollo 13? I mean, if you have unlimited money and you could just have any actor you want, like, could you, watching this, not make Apollo 13? I'm just saying. I'm not trying to dump on Ron Howard, okay? He's not for me. It's not my guy. It's not my guy, okay? But I watched it because I was like, if I'm going to read these articles, I'm not just going to take these people's word for it. This thing's apparently some kind of a cultural, it's kind of a cultural meme or something now. So let me watch this. Let me watch this stupid piece of garbage. No, I'm just kidding. Let me watch this thing and see what happens. And this movie is not for me. I will say 100% not for me. But I wanted to read you, if you're out there and you watch this and you're kind of like, what is this? I wanted to read you some excerpts from this Vulture article where this guy kind of ripped Hillbilly Elegy a new sort of. And here we go. I'll read you a few quotes. Advances, by the way, this guy's from Appalachia. The guy who wrote this, from what I understand. Poverty and immorality intertwine, advances Appalachia. Success happens to hardworking people, and structural explanations for poverty receive glancing attention when he chooses to mention them at all. I was kind of shocked by this. I mean, this is sort of, it's a very old-fashioned morality tale where it's like, this kid, he did his Algebra 2 homework. Things started clicking, and he did his Algebra 2 homework. He got a couple of jobs, and then he went to Yale. And it's like, and it really is presented. I mean, Ron Howard is like saying that this movie is not, he's like, this is not political. It's not, I made a movie based on a book. I'm not trying to say anything too political here. But I mean, you think of the timing of this movie and everything that's going on right now and what people are discussing and all this stuff. And just the movie itself and the story itself it's like, it absolutely pushes a point of view of like, these people are, there's certain people who are immoral and they're failures because they're lazy. And then there's people who are good people who show their virtue, and their virtue leads them to money and not being poverty. I mean, it's pretty clear. The other thing that's like really just an odd choice from Ron about this, really odd choice from Ron to even direct this movie, is Ron Howard basically was born into Hollywood. He was basically, and again, I'm not cracking on Ron, but it's just an odd choice. That's all I'm saying. Like, he could make awesome movies. Like, people who, I like Sofia Coppola's movies. I like all of them. I think they're all great. She's somebody who's probably never experienced an interaction with a normal, non-famous human being. And I like her movies. Okay, so it's not about that. It's about it just being a very odd choice. This guy, because I picture Ron Howard. He's like reading this book or whatever, or thinking about people in Appalachia. And he's like, man, these yokels, these pathetic yokels. Why don't they just go to be born into Hollywood? Man, let me put on my directing hat and think about these yokels, these dumb yokels who don't have virtue like I do. Well, they need to step up on the virtue and be Hollywood directors. Here's another quote from the article. So Elegy isn't meant for the people of Appalachia or the Ozarks or the Rust Belt. No hillbilly film is ever made for the people it depicts. They're intended for people with power and security, people who want to believe that money is the same thing as integrity or intelligence, and that conversely, an absence of money indicates something about a person's character. Oh, man. It's hard to not take that. I mean, when I was watching this, I wanted to give it a fair shake and be like, this could just be kind of a more neutral story, a more morally neutral story about how just absurd the whole situation is. You know, the idea that a factory shuts down, the town falls apart, the economic system of the entire town kind of falls apart. People have little to no opportunity in most cases. The statistics on this stuff are horrendous. I think he was actually born in Kentucky, which Kentucky is the poorest place in the country. And, you know, just numbers wise, those people aren't going to pull a J.D. Vance and get themselves a Yale scholarship. Not a significant portion of them for this kind of approach to fixing this problem to make any sense. Yeah, it's hard to argue with this because it does seem to be pushing that very naive viewpoint. Viewers want to look at the hillbilly and reassure themselves that they are not that. And look, I've done that on this channel. I'm like, hey, I'm Brian Camp, but I'm making fun of people like him who are cynical con artists. So get off my back, you jerks out there who watch this channel. I see you thumbs downing my channel because I'm, you know, being a creep as usual. After all, they'd vote for Obama a third time if they could. That's pretty funny. Let me just read that again. Let me actually finish a thought for once in my life. Viewers want to look at the hillbilly and reassure themselves they are not that. After all, they'd vote for Obama a third time if they could. That definitely is a type of obnoxious person. Located beyond the reach of reason or society, the hillbilly is pure white id. Yeah, for sure. And this is also, there's that book, Educated, which was pretty popular a couple years ago, Educated, which is almost like a mirror image of this story. A girl, it's just like a girl character going through the exact same story. Located beyond the reach of reason or society, he's pure white id. He's also a fiction. In reality, the trappings of civilization do not purify a soul. Interesting, that's going to take us into the next movie that I want to talk about. You cannot tell a good white person from a bad white person by the way someone dresses or how they sound when they speak. But one of the weird things about this movie, too, is, again, this is not anything personal with Ron, or any of the people involved. But holy moly, this movie is almost like it's made by like an alien or something. Like the conversations that people have, there's a part, here's one example of many if you watch this movie. There's a part where the main character, J.D. Vance, he like goes back home. He's back in, I can't remember if it's Ohio or Kentucky, but he's back home and his sister hands him a fried bologna sandwich and he's like, I miss this. I miss this. I miss this. Like he couldn't make a fried bologna sandwich at his dorm at Yale or whatever. And there's all kinds of stuff in this movie. Just like the way he talks to his girlfriend is like, it's really like the way an alien would think that human beings talk to each other. Now, again, Ron Howard, not for me. My Howard goes by the name Clint Howard. The other Howard. Clint. That's my boy. That's my Howard boy. And if you haven't seen Rock and Roll High School, it's on Netflix, like in its entire Netflix. What is wrong with me? Damn you. Damn you, brain. Work better, you piece of crap. It's on YouTube in its entirety, Rock and Roll High School. And this movie is, you know, it's like a goofy movie from the late 70s. with a bunch of Ramones, good Ramones references and stuff in it. But the best thing about this movie is actually Clint Howard, because it's like it is one of the best movie characters ever created. He's this. Wait, let's look at him first. Let's get a look at him.
Hello, Mr. Hickelbauer. How are you doing?
There he is. This is truly one of the best characters ever devised for a movie. You go into the bathroom at this high school, and Clint Howard has an office. He has an office set up in this high school bathroom where students can go in and buy buy test answers, and he does it like he's a sleazy salesman or whatever. It's one of the best things ever. Best movie scenes ever. But the most offensive performance of the film belongs to Amy Adams, who they somehow made to look not like the most beautiful actress you've ever seen in your life. Anyway, who shrieks, squeals, and flails through scene after dreadful scene as Vance's mother, who suffers from undiagnosed mental health issues and an eventual substance abuse problem. Adams is a banshee. Elegy affords her few opportunities to humanize an extreme character. But strip away Amy Adams' coveralls and bangs, remove Glenn Close's glasses and foul mouth, what's left? Poverty. And that is a political problem. Let's watch some more Rock and Roll High School here for a second.
So what would it be for the star quarterback of Vince Lombardi High? Fake ID, get your liquor in any state. No.
He gets kids fake IDs. What a brilliant movie. Now that's a movie. Hillbilly Elegy? Not for me. Rock and Roll High School, starring Clint Howard? Yes, please. It's sort of weird because the last couple movies that I've watched, the two movies that I've watched over the past, 2 weeks or whatever, are Hillbilly Elegy, which I just watched, and then Mank, which are basically opposites. Even the look of both of the movies. You have Hillbilly Elegy, which is trying to go for a, realistic. Oh, this is like a realistic thing. And, it didn't, honestly, Hillbilly Elegy didn't look as bad as I thought it was, as I thought it would. But at some points it does, when I was watching it, especially in the beginning, I was like, this feels like I'm watching a Christian movie. You know what I mean? One of those movies you would be forced to watch at Sunday school or something like that, or a Hallmark movie kind of deal. But then, one of probably the coolest things about Mank is that it's kind of imitating the look and the acting style and the writing of movies in the 40s. And I think David Fincher's dad wrote Mank, actually, which is kind of interesting too. But so it's doing something interesting even with the form, which we don't expect that from Hillbilly Elegy either. But it's also its theme is kind of anti-Hillbilly Elegy too. Or at least, yeah, if you just stripped it down to what's this movie trying to tell me? What's this movie trying to say? If anything, is, Hillbilly Elegy is hey, look, take personal responsibility and do your best, and you'll be in the upper echelons of society. And if anything we could take from Mank that's simplified like that, it would be similar to the theme of Citizen Kane itself, which would be, even more so, even more blatantly in Mank, I think, which is you have Upton Sinclair being such a huge part of this movie, which I was not expecting, who was, kind of this is maybe a simplification, played by Bill Nye, by the way, in this movie. Cameo by Bill Nye up in Mank. But he's kind of the, kind of the Bernie Sanders of his time, and he's hated by the powerful. And Mank, this is a Depression era, and there's demonization of poor people and of people of different races, using the media. And I just feel like this is such a more, at least it's trying to be like a more genuine look at this kind of stuff. Okay, one more thing about Hillbilly Elegy, and you know what I do on this channel. I make fun of YouTube lunatics most of the time, so it has to end up here, of course. When I was just like searching around on YouTube for Hillbilly Elegy, this is one of this is one of the first videos that came up, and it's of course king of all media, king of all online media, Benny Pepino, and Benjamin Pepino. Show him some respect. It's Benjamin Pepino. I can't believe this, but he's talking about Hillbilly Elegy. Loved it. He literally wanted to make out and hump he bought it on VHS just so that he could hump it. That's what I heard. I mean, I'm just relaying you what I heard, okay? But check out this segment here. He's talking here. You'll see.
Ron Howard obviously didn't think it was political. He appeared on CBS This Morning on Tuesday, and he said, I do feel like they're looking at political thematics they may or may not disagree with that honestly are not really reflected or are not front and center of this story. And
I mean, okay, we'll just stop for a second. This is not the point of this, but how could you think that? How could you think that? You're doing a movie in a time when one of the, everybody right now is talking about the election. And everybody for the past 4 years has been talking about how did we get a demented lunatic to be president, and what's going on here, and blah blah blah. This is what the conversation has been. To do a movie about that part of the country in that kind of way, I don't know, but written by a guy who if you read the book is expressly political in a lot of ways. How could that slip past you? I don't get it. But anyway, here we go.
that's kind of right. So Ron Howard in the movie, he kind of strips all of the politics from the story because Ron Howard is sort of just a good Democrat, and he sees it as an uplifting story, and not just an uplifting story, but a good commentary on how you can make good decisions, which, last I checked, used to be something that liberals shared with conservatives. But we have moved beyond that. We'll get to more of this in just 1 second, folks. But first, let me talk about why betting can be kind of a fun thing. So right around election time, there were these presidential debates. I bet on them. I used my friends over at MyBookie. They had a bunch of prop bets on the election. It was a lot of fun. Actually,
guys, take some personal responsibility. It's about making good decisions. By the way, gamble. What? Is this a parody channel? I mean, this guy might be a genius. He might be a genius. This might be some next level Andy Kaufman S. From what I understand, gambling is generally a no-no in Judaism. Am I right or wrong on this? Either way, he's kind of like, hey guys, let's pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Get your stuff together. By the way, gamble too. Also gambling. Put in the code Pepino. This shameless rat. This shameless little rat. How do you let this slip? How do you let this slip out of your mouth? This stuff, unbelievable. Well, of course we have to work that in. Anyway, watch Mank. If you want to watch a movie that you'll immediately forget the contents of, sorry, Ron, and I'm sorry to favor the Clint. I'm sorry to favor your brother Clint, but I think that I met actually Clint Howard once, and he was wearing a Cheap Trick shirt. So he seems to be a cool guy. But skip it. I would say skip it. It's not good. It's not a good movie. It's not for me. It's not for me. You out there, you like Hillbilly Elegy, you get some kind of a good feeling from that, which I don't know why. Maybe you look at Amy Adams and you're like, man, this is why people I think like the movie. They're like, man, Amy Adams still hot, even with all that gross makeup on. Even they try their hardest to make her look disgusting, and still beautiful somehow. You did it, Amy. That's the true achievement of Hillbilly Elegy, is that Amy Adams is impossible to not make look beautiful. Congratulations, Ron Howard. Emmy, he should win an Emmy and a Tony And what's the music one? The golden record or whatever they call that stupid thing that they win, and a Golden Globe. Good night.